hard to say, but like what drives the resistance? Like, why do they not want those things? Or
I think people are slow to recognise that class exists. So,
really,
like, if you recognise that class exists in a big way, I think that people that are struggling, whether it be working class people, whether it be people that just come from different minority groupings in general, what we usually all share is a lack of access. Regardless of our ethnicity, race, gender, like we share a lack of access and a lack of power and a lack of wealth.
Yep.
And for the state to recognise that we have a class system, it also has to recognise how it upholds that class system.
Yes, yeah.
And it holds on to its own power. So I think people tend to kind of fob off class as a thing. And I think if you were to dig down into that deeper and further, it's also because they think there's something special about them and not about us. So we experience poverty or addiction or high levels of criminality or low levels of education because we are working class, not because that they have actually created the environment where the divide or the gap between those who have and those who don't have. So they think that, like, I'm saying they think, but I'm like, obviously I'm speaking, somewhat abstractly when I'm saying they. Like, I think they blame us. That if we just got up and worked a little bit harder, and if we cared a little bit more, and if our mothers cared more about education, and if our fathers worked a little bit harder, or if, that somehow they blame us for experiencing poverty. And when I say us, I mean obviously communities and communities like ours, and whether that's similar geographic demographics. So I think in some level they don't accept that they've created a societal system whereby people struggle. We only have to look at how the housing situation. We only have to look at going on and furthering your education, going on to university. Kids in Tala are no less smarter than kids in like a D4 or a D6, but I think they are smarter.
Yes, yeah.
Rather than it being actually about having access to being able to actually learn in a positive environment. So I don't think they recognise class. Well, I sit in the chamber sometimes and I hear the classes things being said, and nobody bats an eyelid. Now, if you were to say something really gendered or really racist, people say, don't do that. But I can see they haven't yet. One of the senators a few weeks ago on the debate on the referendums that are coming up basically said that the decline of marriage is what has resulted in an increase in criminality. And I was like, what? What? Right? And no, but I'm looking because I'm fuming. And I'm like, nobody has even noticed what this person has said.
Yeah, it just goes over the head,
Right? And that's because I'm going, they don't understand class, right? So obviously I have to come back in and say, actually, the increase in criminality is from a lack of resource, a lack of being able to meet one's economic needs. So just because a person, like if you were to do like a study or research piece of a community that has a high rate of criminality or criminal behaviour, and their parents happen either not to be married or they happen to be one parent households, they don't engage in criminality because they came from a one parent household. It's because the one parent households have not been supported from a resource housing health perspective. So the poverty is what creates the conditions of any sort of antisocial behaviour. But like somebody can stand in the chamber and say basically single mothers are raising criminals, and it's because they're not married. When you break it into my language, that's what you're saying, and it's like they don't notice. So that shows me that like it's like I'm the only one that can hear it. Now you might point it out to some people and they go, oh yeah, that's not great. But there's not a natural reaction to sometimes things that people say, like.